Hello friends, welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making Easter egg sugar cookies with royal icing. So everything you see on my cutting board is what we're going to use to make the cookie part of this recipe. And we are going to start out with 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, which we melted a little bit. And to this, we're going to add 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. And we're going to mix these together until it's kind of frothy and everything is mixed completely. You want that sugar and totally incorporated into the butter. So I'm using a whisk to this. You could use like an electric mixer if you wanted to. I just felt this was kind of easy enough to do this way. So go ahead and mix this together really well. And once you get this very mixed together, there's no sugar in the bottom of your bowl around the sides. We're going to add 1 egg, which has been sitting at room temperature. Now make sure when you get the egg in there that you use your whisk or whatever to break open the yolk, so that way we can start mixing that together and get it thoroughly mixed. Now once you get that in, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. And again, we're going to mix. And next you're going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of salt and then 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And then go ahead and mix that in as well. We want to make sure this is really incorporated in. And our last ingredient is the flour, which we are going to use 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to dump this in about half at a time, so that way it's easier to mix in. So as you're doing this, make sure that you're scraping the bottom and the sides of your bowl to get this all pulled into the wet mixture. And now that the first part was mixed in, now we're going to go ahead with the second part of the flour and just do the same as before. Mix it in completely, scrape the sides and the bottom until everything is completely done. Now, when this dough is completely finished and put together here, we're not going to put it in the oven yet. We're going to take some parchment paper, put a little bit of flour on it, and then we're going to roll out the dough onto it, but we're going to separate this into 2 lots. So it's going to go on 2 different pieces of parchment paper. And once it's done, we're going to put it in the fridge and let it chill for about an hour before we cut this, because it's just easier to work with that way. And then when it comes back from the refrigerator, then we will actually use a cookie cutter on this. So as I said, now that it's back from the fridge, we're talking an hour later, I'm using my cookie cutter that's shaped like an egg, and I'm going through and doing this. And in the meantime, the oven has been preheating at 350 degrees, because these are going to be in there for like maybe 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how hot your oven gets, because some people's temperatures run higher than others, and just because you put it at 350 doesn't mean that's what it is. And this is what they look like when they come out. You don't want these overly brown, because they're just straight up sugar cookies. And then we're going to let these cool for a second, then we're going to put them on a wire rack to cool completely. And we're going to get ready to make royal icing. So for your royal icing, you're going to need 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, to this we are going to add 1 1/2 tablespoons of meringue powder. This is going to help the icing set up, and it'll be firmer than some icings you get that once they sit for a while they're still kind of sticky. And then to this we're going to add about 5 tablespoons of room temperature water. And once you get all of that into your bowl, you're going to mix it up until it's a really smooth, silky looking icing. Which it's going to look liquidy, but once it sits, it'll set up and it'll harden and it'll look the way it's supposed to. Now, along the way, you need to choose whatever color you want to put into your icing, because we're going to add food coloring to this. To change it, I chose yellow just for the Easter eggs. Now, once the icing goes onto these cookies and they sit and harden, then you can go back later and put designs on them if you wish to. And you don't have to make up an icing for that. You can actually go to the store and get one of those little tubes that you can actually draw with or write with and put your design on. But this is just the basic base cover. Like, we're going to put the yellow on just as the outer edge of the icing, and then the other decorative will go on top of that. But once you dip your cookies in the royal icing, just keep in mind it's going to have to sit for a while for these to dry and harden. It's not going to happen in just a few minutes. Because when I did these, I think it took probably about an hour or so for it to set up completely. So now that I have my mix going here for the icing, I'm going to add some coloring to it. Now, the coloring, you're choosing the color, and as dark or as light as you want is how much you're going to put into this. So I say put in a little at a time until you get to where you want it to be. I was going for yellow, so I just squeezed out a bunch of yellow in here to go for it because I had an idea about what it was going to take. And mix it up until it is completely through the whole mix. And this might take a minute to get it completely through. And make sure that you don't have a bunch of lumps still in your icing. And then once you're done, you're going to take your cookie and move it around on top of the icing until you feel that the icing is all the way around the cookie, and then tilt it around from side to side to let the icing run around to do an even coat. And then any excess will drop off at that point. If not, you're going to put it on top of a wire rack and let it drip through to a pan that's underneath of that, so that way it has a chance to set up. And as you do it, you're going to keep doing these one after another until they're completely done, and let them sit until they're dry. And when they're done, they come back looking something like this. And like I said, I added an icing onto the top to give it a design. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you have a chance, check out my cookbook, which is available on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide. Have a great day.